Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Friday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and a day after a day after Jacob deGrom rounded into form, Noah Sydnergaard went a step further and picked up sort of where he left off last season, pitching a brilliant game yesterday, a complete game shutout. I want to talk about the game. I want to talk about what happened in the last two games and offer two different theories about where this turnaround came from for both deGrom and Sydnergaard. Again, if deGrom was good on Wednesday night, Sydnergaard was great yesterday afternoon. The Mets split their 4-game set with the Reds, 2-2, and interestingly, the Mets lost one of the games that, of course, we thought they would win, and that was the deGrom start, assuming that deGrom was going to be back to normal. And look, I've never been ready to hit the panic. I wasn't ready to hit the panic button this early in the season with deGrom. I was a little bit more, and I'm still a little bit concerned about Sydnergaard, and I want to talk about that in a moment. But getting back to Jacob deGrom, yesterday I rambled on for like 14 minutes, and I was trying to collect thoughts from a week of games and stuff that happened in the last week or so, and I missed something that I thought about during the game, and I forgot to mention yesterday. And it's the fact that this is not an excuse what I'm about to say, but the fact that Jacob deGrom actually got to start the game on time with no delays, I think that's a huge piece of information that I don't know that anybody's really talking about. Every game this season, it seems like deGrom has started late, whether it was because of rain or, mostly because of rain, but there have been delays for almost all of his starts. And the first two, the two brilliant ones, no delays, started on time. The middle three, delays, rain, yucky forecast, shitty weather. Again, I'm not making an excuse, but I'm just drawing a parallel there to see that he did poorly when he couldn't start on time, and he has done really well when he has started on time. Does that mean anything? I don't know. We'll see going forward. But that could be one of the explanations for why deGrom was so good on Wednesday, and it wasn't good before that. As far as Sydnergaard is concerned, I sort of two things. The one thing that I thought of was pretty basic. It was a nice warm day yesterday, and what did Sydnergaard complain about earlier in the season? That the ball was ice cold, that he couldn't get a good grip on the ball. And he can play the tough guy all he wants and have, wear no sleeves and stuff. But at the end of the day, when it's like 40 degrees and the wind is gusting and it's terribly cold, I don't care how tough you are, your hands are going to get, you're going to have a hard time gripping the baseball. It's just like biology, So the thing that I thought of was the weather. It was beautiful yesterday. It was a great, nice, warm day, and Sydnergaard certainly benefited from that. Andy Martino had said in his in a little interview that was on SNY that I watched this morning, that there was a big differential in Noah's pitches in terms of speed, and it made it impossible for any of the batters to sit in that 96 to 99 mile an hour range, and that makes a lot of sense too. So perhaps it's the combination of those two things where there's a little bit more of a variance between the off-speed pitches and the fastballs. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I couldn't remember where I read it, but at the end of the day, it's just nice to see pitching performances like we expect out of the Mets pitching staff. Now, of course, as it tends to normally unfold for the Mets, the bats have sort of quieted off a little bit. Everyone not named Jeff McNeil is not hitting quite as prolifically as they were over the first month or so of the season. Am I concerned? No, I'm not concerned. Number one, look, the Cincinnati Reds, despite their reputation, they have the best pitching staff in the National League by numbers. So it shouldn't be surprising that the Mets bats were stymied over the last 4 games. Prior to that, they were hitting. And tonight they go into a hitter's park in Milwaukee and take on the Brewers. So we'll see what happens with a lesser pitching staff and how they're able to deal with the Mets, if at all. So we'll have to find out starting tonight. So I'm not worried about the offense. I'm very relieved to see Sydnergaard and deGrom pitch really well. The big question is it sustainable? And that's the we'll have to wait and see. For deGrom, I think it could very well be as basic as getting back into a routine and not having that rain delay screw up his preparation. If that's all it is, amen. Thank God. That's terrific. I mean, you couldn't ask for a simpler solution. If it's more than that, again, we have to wait and see. For Sydnergaard, I'm not 100% convinced that he's out of the woods. He looked really good yesterday. He looked very confident, which I think was something that was missing from his last few starts, where he looked kind of lost on the mound, and he looked a little bit sheepish and afraid to throw certain pitches, and that's just not the Noah Sydnergaard that we have come to expect. While the Reds' pitching staff this season has been really good, their offense, although not what we would expect from the Cincinnati Reds, has been dreadful. Their offense is one of the worst in the league, which is why they're under 500, despite having a really good pitching staff, i.e. the Mets for the last, 4 years, with good pitching and no offense to speak of. So the Reds may have a factor in why Sydnergaard did so well yesterday, being that their offense is so poor right now. But again, it's going to be a wait and see. The big advantage and the big plus to deGrom and Sydnergaard combining to throw 16 of the last 18 innings of baseball is that the bullpen got a chance to rest, and that's huge. So they'll be fully rested heading into this series with the Brewers this weekend in Milwaukee. As far as this weekend goes, I will not be back to record anything until Monday. So I'll recap the full 3-game set with Milwaukee on Monday at some point during the morning, and I'll post the video shortly thereafter. So until then, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. If you're not already doing so, please do. I post these videos as often as I make them. I post some links to my blog where I'm keeping track of game balls and goats for the season, and I also post Mets trivia questions. I try to do that every day as well. So follow me and have some fun with Mets-related topics and banter and whatnot. So until Monday, thanks again. Have a great weekend, and as always, let's go Mets.